Field guns. Field guns were the baseline artillery of World War II. Long barrels, wheeled carriages, built for flat, fast trajectories across open ground. Structurally, they balanced range and stability with basic mobility. Too heavy to break apart, too rigid for rough terrain. Their strength was flexibility. Direct fire when needed, indirect fire for sustained support. Their weakness was environment. Germany relied on guns like the 10, 5 centimeters K-18 during the invasions of France and the early Eastern Front. The Soviet Union used 76 millimeters divisional field guns as everyday infantry support weapons. Field guns work when the battlefield stays flat. Once it doesn't, the design stops cooperating. Howitzers were built for high-angle fire. That means the shell goes up first, then comes down steeply onto the target. Shorter barrels, wider elevation, designed to hit what you can't see directly. Structurally, this let them strike targets behind cover, trenches, ridgelines, buildings. They traded flat speed for vertical reach. Their strength was flexibility in broken terrain, hills, forests, cities. This is where howitzers worked. Their weakness was direct combat. Lower muzzle velocity, slower reaction. Germany relied on the 10.5 centimeters LEFH-18 as its standard divisional howitzer. The United States used the 105 millimeters M2A, one across Europe and the Pacific. Howitzers didn't argue with terrain, they simply fired over it. Anti-tank guns. Anti-tank guns were built for direct, flat fire. Low barrels, low profiles, designed to punch straight through armor. Structurally, everything favored velocity. Long barrels, dense shells, very little elevation. Because elevation wasn't the job, their strength was penetration. Against tanks, they were efficient, lethal, and precise. Their weakness was everything else. They were exposed. They struggled once the enemy stopped coming straight at them. Germany relied heavily on guns like the 7.5 centimeters Pa-40, especially on the Eastern Front. The Soviet Union used 45 millimeters and 57 millimeters anti-tank guns in defensive depth against German armor. Anti-tank guns worked best when the threat stayed predictable. Once it didn't, they became very visible targets. Anti-aircraft guns. Anti-aircraft guns were built to fire upward, not forward. Tall mounts, wide movement, designed to follow targets that don't stay still. Structurally, these guns were made to track the sky, not the ground. They could lift high. They could turn fast. Their strength was control. They made flying low dangerous and flying high uncomfortable. Their weakness was ground combat. Big shapes, limited protection, not designed for face-to-face fights. Britain relied heavily on guns like the QF 3.7-inch, defending cities during the Blitz. The United States used mobile anti-aircraft guns to protect advancing forces in Europe and the Pacific. Anti-aircraft guns controlled the sky, but paid for it on the ground. Mortars. Mortars were artillery, in its simplest form. Short tubes, steep angles, designed to drop shells almost straight down. Structurally, mortars favored portability over power. Small crews, short ranges, easy to carry, easy to hide. Their strength was immediacy. Infantry could bring fire support with them. No towing, no setup, no delay. Their weakness was reach, limited range, limited destructive power compared to larger guns. The Soviet Union used mortars extensively at every level, from platoons to divisions. Japan relied on light mortars across the Pacific, where heavy artillery simply couldn't move. Mortars didn't dominate the battlefield. They lived inside it. Mountain guns. Mountain guns were built to come apart. Short barrels, lightweight frames, designed to be dismantled and carried by mules or people. Structurally, everything was sacrificed for access. Smaller calibers, shorter barrels, every component designed to be lifted, not towed. Their strength was reach. Steep slopes, narrow paths, high-altitude terrain where roads simply didn't exist. Their weakness was power. Lighter shells, shorter range once deployed. Italy used mountain guns in the Alps and the Balkans, where conventional artillery could not follow infantry. Britain relied on them in Burma, moving fire support through jungle-covered hills. A mountain gun isn't a field gun uphill. It exists because the field gun could never make it there. Naval landing guns. Naval landing guns were ship guns taken ashore. Heavy barrels, naval mounts, adapted for land use, designed to support troops immediately after landing. Structurally, these guns were not built for long campaigns. They were powerful, they were awkward, and they depended on ships to get there. Their strength was timing. They brought heavy firepower before regular artillery could arrive. Right at the moment, troops were most exposed. Their weakness was sustainability, limited mobility, difficult supply once inland. The Allies used naval landing guns during amphibious assaults, including North Africa and Normandy, to support beachheads before field artillery arrived. Japan also deployed naval guns on Pacific islands for coastal defense and landing support. Naval landing guns hit hard, but only where the sea allowed them to land. Coastal artillery. Coastal artillery was built to stay in one place. Heavy guns, fixed positions, designed to fire across water, not to move with the battle. These guns were meant to become part of the landscape. Once installed, they didn't relocate. They waited. Their strength was control. They could threaten ships approaching harbors, ports, and narrow sea routes. If a ship entered their range, it had to react. Their weakness was flexibility. They couldn't follow the fight. If the battle moved away, they were left behind. Germany used coastal guns along the Atlantic Wall to defend occupied Europe. Britain relied on coastal artillery to protect key ports and coastal approaches. Coastal artillery didn't hunt the enemy. It stayed and forced the enemy to come to it. Self-propelled artillery. Self-propelled artillery was artillery that moved under its own power. Guns mounted on tracked or wheeled vehicles, built to keep up with fast-moving armies. Structurally, this removed the towing problem. No unlimbering. No waiting for tractors or horses. Their strength was tempo. They could fire, relocate, and fire again before the enemy adjusted. Their weakness was protection. Light armor, vulnerable to air attack and direct fire, Germany used self-propelled guns like the West Bay to support mobile operations on the Eastern Front. The United States relied on vehicles such as the M7 Priest to provide moving fire support across Western Europe. Self-propelled artillery didn't replace towed guns. It simply refused to fall behind them. Rocket artillery. Rocket artillery was built to hit wide areas at once. Multiple launch rails, designed to fire many rockets in a single burst. Structurally, this was about quantity over precision. Rockets were easy to produce. Aiming was not the priority. Their strength was impact. Large zones could be struck almost instantly, noise and explosions arriving together. Their weakness was accuracy. Rockets scattered. Reloading took time. The Soviet Union used Katyusha launchers to flood German positions with fire on the Eastern Front. Germany deployed Nebelwerfer units to disrupt enemy formations before ground attacks. Rocket artillery didn't focus on one target. It focused on everything around it. Siege artillery. Siege artillery was built to break things that refused to break. Massive barrels, enormous shells. Designed to destroy hardened targets, not chase moving armies. Structurally, everything favored power over speed. Extreme weight. Very slow movement. Sometimes, none at all. Their strength was brute force. Thick bunkers. Heavy defenses. Places smaller guns simply couldn't crack. Their weakness was mobility. Long setup times, easy to leave behind once the front moved. The Soviet Union used 203mm B-4 siege guns against fortified German positions, including during the Battle for Berlin. Germany deployed weapons like the Karl Gerät against heavily defended targets. Siege artillery didn't solve problems quickly. It existed for problems that wouldn't go away. Railway guns. Railway guns were artillery that needed rails to exist. Extremely long barrels, mounted on rail cars to carry weight no vehicle could. Structurally, the railway did the work. It handled recoil. It handled transport. Without tracks, the gun went nowhere. Their strength was range. They could strike targets far beyond normal artillery reach. Their weakness was dependence. Fixed routes, predictable positions, easy to avoid if the rails were cut. Germany used railway guns like the Schwer Gustav to attack fortified targets at extreme distances. Britain and France also fielded railway artillery for long-range coastal and strategic fire. Railway guns were powerful, but only where the tracks allowed them to be. Thank you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the latest videos.